I don't wanna fight it. It's time to let it go. It's time to lose your inhibition. Developing a blind ambition. If you got a match, just go ahead and light it. I wanna see where this is going. We're done with playing games now, knowing, yeah. We've nothing to lose. We lost it that night. We're feeling alright. There's no need to choose. We'll make up your mind. We're feeling alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, Gonna do it like this, gonna do it like that. Everybody's on that, gonna do it like this. Yeah, we never look back. Oh, got the bodies on tap, getting rowdy on it, getting cloudy on it. Got me on the right track, you got me on it. Gonna do it like this.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the grand final here in Season 3 of Reddit League. My name is Atomo, and I have the pleasure of being joined by my co-host Calamity today. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty great. This is what we've been waiting for all season, Calamity. Our final two competitors, BOKSA and Raidman Muka. And yeah, I probably couldn't have asked for a better final.
Yeah, this is what it all comes down to. We've seen at the start of the season already a trend develop that sort of made us think, okay, one of or two of these three are probably going to go to the finals. You never know with the semifinals in a best of one format. An outsider could have barged in. But no, we did get Raidman Muha against BOKSA, and yeah, I'm excited to watch it.
Oh, okay, well, let's take a look at their regular season stats. Both of them having perfect games in as their best game. Average points for Raidman over 24,000. BOKSA 23,337. Both of them a huge number of aces there. 31 for BOKSA, 27 for Raidman. Obviously first and third as well. And records, both of them having 2 losses, but Raidman picked up quite a few ties, Calamity.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that gets reflected in the average points just based on ties usually happening in the upper range of points. You can see there Raidman with 5 ties, I think is the most we've ever had in Reddit League in a season, tied with,
so, yeah.
I think, Radu in season 1. So that just shows how often he was in that sort of range to have these ties with very high points. Also important to mention, Raidman actually had 2 perfect games to BOKSA's 1. Could be interesting as well going into the final, depending on the maps, which we'll see in a second. Yeah, aces very close together, position very close. I just think you missed 1 game for BOKSA because his games add up to 10, and that probably shouldn't be the case. Yeah, BOKSA had a 3rd draw in there. But other than that, yeah, very, very tight season for both of them. They were only split apart by 2 points in the end. And the one game they played against each other, I've already forgotten when was that. I think that was pretty early on, wasn't it?
No, it was very late.
It was very late.
It was very late in the season. And I believe...
Oh, it was the last... Yeah, it was the last game. Sorry, yeah. I was looking through the data sheets earlier, and I just remembered Raidman against BOKSA was very late, but the latest image I had was Raidman against Mr. Blue, so I thought it must have been earlier. But yeah, last game of the season, so it's not been too long. We won't see the same map again. It was Kenya back then. But yeah, going to be an interesting and presumably a very tight game.
Yeah, exactly. And unlike the regular season, there are no draws here. Even if they both get a perfect score, we're going to be looking at distances to separate those two. So a win is going to be a win. There's no draws at all. So yeah, let's take a little bit of a look at their road here to the finals. BOKSA besting Stymphalics, 24,588 to 24,326. And Raidman taking out Mr. Blue, 24,659 to 23,006 for them. Definitely very good scores all around. Probably the weird thing is that Mr. Blue had the lowest score in the semifinals. He wouldn't have been able to beat anybody. But very, very good games on AI World map, which we might see again, Calamity.
Yeah, we Well, we definitely will see it again. I'm gonna say, just in case you were wondering, if the game should end 2-0, we're still gonna cast a third map as well, so you don't get spoiled just because the video length. But yeah, very close game in the semifinals. If you were to look at BOKSA and Raidman's scores, they were only separated by 71 points. In that case, though, as we said before, no draws anymore would have been a win for Raidman. And yeah, we'll have to see if it happens in a similar fashion in the final, or if that third map will even matter anymore. But usually, with the way it is, we had 2 seasons so far. Both finals went to a third map. We'll see if it happens again this time. But the chances aren't bad. And yeah, Raidman will get another chance at fighting for that title yet again after he lost the final last season to Simi. And we'll see if he's improved so much that he can beat BOKSA this season.
Indeed. Well, yes, let's take a look at the maps for our grand final. Of course, each of the finalists get to pick a map, their home map. And BOKSA picking his actual home country of Germany. Raidman, however, picking his same pick from last season in Singapore, which he did beat Simeon. And again, our third map decider is an AI-generated world. Yeah, how the finals have gone in the first 2 seasons, Calamity, players take their picks and it goes to the decider map, and it's usually very close in that one as well. Do you think Raidman's going to be able to pick up his map again here? Picking the same map gives BOKSA a little bit of, at least like a past reference point, so to speak, that he can use to judge how good Raidman is picking the same map twice in a row.
Yeah, for sure. But at the same time, I don't think Singapore, even without the knowledge that Raidman picked it last season, Singapore is such a small country that even if you hadn't known previously that that might be something you practice for, you're probably not going to take longer than a couple of hours of practice, maybe at most, until you're familiar with the country. And yeah, BOKSA choosing Germany isn't going to surprise Raidman either. So yeah, not a very surprising map selection here. Raidman, as I don't know if you mentioned it, but yeah, he did beat Simi last season on it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. So he seems confident to make the same happen again. And yeah, BOKSA going for his home map. There's kind of different tactics you can choose with picking maps. You can either go for your own strengths, you can go for your opponent's weaknesses. And it seems to me like both went for their own strengths. It can be tricky to go for your opponent's weaknesses because in a lot of cases, they're probably not maps that you yourself can excel on. Like,
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
for these players, opponents' weaknesses might be something like, I don't know, Russia or Brazil or the US maybe, or something like that, where you're never guaranteed to really get the best result yourself either, because it can often come down to locations a bit. But I'm actually, now that I think about it, I think Russia might have not been a bad choice for BOKSA because he's told me before that he can read Russian and speak it. I don't know if he could speak it very well or just, all right. But that might have been an advantage for him if he had gone for that. But decided to go with his home country. Germany as well, similar to Singapore, but just a bit more coverage. But again, probably not the most difficult of maps.
Yeah, very interesting. Let's see what this is. The order for our maps will be the order you see on your screen here. We'll first have a matchup on BOKSA's Germany, then Raidman's Singapore, followed by an AI-generated world for this one. So, without further ado, let us jump in to round number 1 in game 1 in Germany, as we'll get into here and see how things go. And we start off on a pretty decent road. I don't believe this is the famous Autobahn in Germany. Just a highway.
No, it looks sort of like a I don't even know if there is an English translation for that, a good one, but sort of a major road on the outskirts of a city.
Probably a highway or
It might be,
something
yes.
like that. Yeah. And we did start by a river, which would be a good point for pinpointing.
Yeah,
Raidman did see, and there we got a bit of some signs and street names.
Yeah, Box has already seen something that made him put his pin down in sort of the southwest of Germany, near Mannheim. I don't know what he saw, I couldn't read it, but there, Raidman as well sees the sign with MA dash, and everyone who's played Germany a bit will know those kind of letter combination followed by a dash is the short abbreviation for the city.
Mhm.
In this case, MA for Mannheim.
Also a road number, the 44. So that'll be helpful in figuring out where they are. And they know we're pretty close to a bridge that BOKSA now has on his screen as well. So not quite the same order of things, but they have seen the same things. So working with the same information, at least in this round so far. There's that river for BOKSA. Now working your way backward on the bridge to the north.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like that location at the start will be very easy to pinpoint. I don't think there was much in the way of buildings that you could really see or any side roads whatsoever. So it'll be interesting to see how they managed to do it.
Yeah, as I believe BOKSA just jumped back to the start, and you've got a kind of a straight bit of road, and you can't see anything. Just a bunch of trees. There is a few buildings there if you move up a bit, which could be helpful. With 30 seconds left, Raidman is still traveling around a bit, checking out the street signs to figure out where he is. He needs to realize that bridge was to his north. Currently looking at the wrong side of the river, which is pretty rare for somebody his caliber, but nope, he'll sort himself out with just under 10 seconds left, and maybe a point off for both of them, but they'll be looking at at least a 24,999, and sure enough, 24,999 is what Raidman will pick up, but an ace for BOKSA in this one, Calamity.
Well, you pick up 4,999. We're a bit early with the 24,999.
Oh, sorry.
But
An
yeah,
extra number there in my head.
Yeah, Raidman took a bit longer than BOKSA to get to the pinpointing stage. Still did a very decent job, only having 10 seconds left to pinpoint his actual location. But in the end, just slightly too far away, about 3 to 4 meters, depending on what the map likes to do. Because the cutoff range can be a bit odd between 14 and 15 meters. But yeah, just slightly too far. BOKSA managed to get the perfect score. But yeah, we'll see. That was actually, I think it's always interesting how there are a few cities that are covered in Germany, and you know, the obvious ones, Berlin, and then the whole Ruhrgebiet with Dortmund and Cologne and everything. But Mannheim is a thing or a city that people often forget about because it's quite far away from all of the others. And there's also a couple of cities that are covered by non-official coverage. So just looking at the map doesn't tell you the full picture. You'd have to zoom in quite far to see whether that's official or unofficial coverage. But it's interesting to me that we got Mannheim in this seed as a rather unusual location in Germany.
Yeah, it is also worth noting that Germany does have lots of broken coverage because of its weird privacy laws and some of that unofficial coverage that could come into play in our future rounds, where players could end up hitting dead ends in the middle of a road just due to how the craziness of how Germany is mapped out in Street View for that. But
yeah, it's by far not as bad as Switzerland, but it might happen here and there.
We'll see as we'll jump into round number 2 here, and we start off in a nice little suburb.
Always nice as well to pretty much spawn with a view of the street you're on.
Yep, that's always good. Very small streets on the outskirts of town, but that's kind of how German coverage works. So
I'd say about 90% of German coverage is just suburbs, somewhere around the big cities. It doesn't help that, especially the Ruhrpott area, which you can see there, Ruhrrund, I don't know, or Ruhrrund, probably a marketing line or marketing name, or however you want to call it. That's maybe where speaking German for BOKSA might actually come in there. You can sort of pick up on puns in marketing like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially that area is basically a combination of like 10, 15 cities. And just between those cities, it's all just suburbs, as Raidman actually comes up to a sign that tells him he's in Dortmund, and BOKSA
Yeah,
sees the same sign.
Boxer sees as well. They also saw signs to Witten, so they know that that is not too far away either. But yeah, this massive West German industry area is packed with cities and suburbs. And BOKSA taking a hard look at Dortmund itself. While Raidman's already got the road, it appears, and we'll be looking to try to figure out where exactly he spawns.
Yeah, it can be quite deceiving, quite difficult to know how far exactly those big cities extend and what still counts as Dortmund.
He looks like the must be between those two garages, and he'll guess, and sure enough, it was correct. 5,000 points. Still got just under a minute left for BOKSA, but he's not quite as confident in where he's looking. I don't know if he saw the sign to Witten. He traveled the same direction as Raidman, so I don't see why he wouldn't know. But he must be, he's looking for a suburb name.
Yep, this one.
And there we go. Now he's got to follow that back. Heads back to, that didn't go back to the start.
Missed the button.
Missed the button, but good enough. There we go. So we'll drop him back to the start. And he will have to judge where between these buildings he is as well.
It shouldn't be too difficult, although he's only got 10 seconds left.
He's a little bit off, at least from where Raidman get. Oh, a last second adjustment will save him a 5K for BOKSA as well. This time, Raidman much faster, but they both get there in the end, Calamity.
Yeah, as I mentioned before with the city limits, this is a suburb quite far outside of Dortmund. So BOKSA just looking at the proper city first and then sort of expanding his search outwards. But he did manage to find it in the end. Maybe with 30 seconds left, he would have struggled a lot more here. But you've got the free mints, so there's no harm in using all of it. And there's no bonus for Raidman for being quicker.
Yeah, you just got to get the points. That's all that matters before that timer expires. As we'll switch over into round number 3. And what do you know? Suburbs.
Yes, as always.
We go again. Yeah.
There's also... Oh, go on.
No, sorry. I was about to say we were probably in the same area, given that sign.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's also always like difficult to tell how far outside of the city you are in those suburbs. Could be like you're a couple streets away from the city center. Could be that you're 5 kilometers away from it. It's really hard to tell. But there is a sign there for BOKSA that tells him DD, which probably stands for Düsseldorf, I would assume, but he goes for Dortmund. I'm not going to tell him he's wrong because I don't know, but I would have just assumed. Oh, it might be DO, actually. It might just be a terrible font choice.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Looks like a DO, which on our screens is a bit harder to read. Yeah.
In that case,
really weird
I take
because,
it back.
It is a pretty poor font choice. I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
It does, at a quick glance, it does look like a OO or a DO or a DD.
It just looks like the same letter twice, yeah.
Very hard.
But he's found
Bergen-Offendorf, though, is the district. There we go. Looks like Raidman is also following a street name where he's trying to figure out where he found this street at an intersection. So he's just following along, about a minute and a half to go still. BOKSA, though, this time a bit quicker getting to the location, and just a hair quicker, actually, because Raidman is right behind him. Both of them back at the start.
Yeah, and they both got the POI for the gardening shop there that they've seen. And now it's just a question of where exactly is that? Where is that little side road that you see on the map? But BOKSA seems pretty confident. Yep.
It'll be good enough for him. And sure enough, he can see that Raidman has dropped 1 point on his screen there. So he's feeling pretty good that he's at least 1 point ahead. Raidman now doing the same thing, trying to figure out where exactly that driveway is in between those two little buildings right there. Before he'll drop his pin and get a 5K for himself as well. Yeah, didn't have to travel that much at all in that one, Calamity. Lots of decent signs right there and a major road that was easy to find as well.
Yeah, Germany generally relatively nice with their suburbs in that you get big signs, big yellow signs at the entrance and exit to every suburb that tells you exactly where you are. And then you just have to find a suburb. That was easier in this case than last round, but still not, not the most difficult. And yeah, then you just have to pinpoint. And if it didn't take you long to find a suburb, you're probably not going to have much trouble with pinpointing.
At all. Well, we'll get into round number 4 here, and BOKSA on a perfect score so far has a 1 point advantage, and we've got BO. The font isn't horrible again, which appears to be Bochum, that BOKSA is confident with, and there's the central of the city. To their north, again, lots of really good signs right at the start, barely have to move for this one.
Yeah.
And Raidman is familiar. He is from neighboring Poland, so he's not too far away from Germany.
That was also why I thought maybe Germany wasn't the safest choice for BOKSA. But it's paying off for him so far. And we've got another sign to Witten here.
Yeah, so the last 3 rounds have been all straight up right next to each other.
Yep. Unfortunately, with how little coverage Germany has in terms of different areas, that's just how seeds are usually going to go. I think you've pretty much got, you've got Berlin, you've got Stuttgart, you've got Munich, you've got this whole area, you've got Mannheim, and I know there is coverage in Frankfurt, but I'm just not sure right now if it's official or unofficial coverage.
Hamburg and Munich have a little.
Yeah.
But
Bremen might have a bit as well, yeah. But just by the way RNG works, you're likely to get one area twice.
And you're just how the coverage works in general. You're going to be in this area, Ruhrgebiet area with Dortmund and Frankfurt and all that. By how many of those cities are crammed together. But I would love to see a Berlin round for round 5 as these players work on their pinpointing. I lived in Berlin for a year. Wonderful city, highly recommend it. And would like to get some nostalgia, but we'll see.
Yeah, it looks
Berlin is really cool because it's almost instantly recognizable.
Well, if you've lived there,
I guess because I've lived there, it is for me at least. But yeah, 5K for Raidman, and 45 more seconds. There's the road. There we go. BOKSA just a few seconds behind. Got to figure out where exactly he is to that intersection. Yep, on the other side of it, on the east side. And being thorough, knows he's a point up, doesn't want to drop even a single point here, because that would put them onto meters to separate them. Using those buildings to pinpoint.
Yep.
Exactly.
Now it's a good idea to pay close attention to where those buildings were in relation. And you can probably just take that bit out with BOKSA looking at the buildings and doing his pinpointing and put it in our little break here until we start the next round, because that is where the aforementioned odd coverage sometimes comes in. And if you looked at what happened in the round exactly, BOKSA pretty much put his pin in the exact correct place. Raidman was a few meters further off, but also still very much within those 15 meters to the right place. But the coverage was just wrong. The pin was at the wrong location, and that ended up costing BOKSA 1 point here, because he was just probably half a meter too far away for doing the right thing, which is very annoying. And we'll see what the last round does, because that would be very, very annoying to lose because of basically a mistake in a game like that.
Yeah, it's something that we don't really talk about too much, but when you get into these fine-grained meters for pinpointing, there is a kind of what do they call it, like a margin of error in Google Maps of a
Hmm.
couple meters to begin with. So if you get a 0 meters, it's actually not on you because the accuracy of Google Maps is not that accurate. So you actually got a bit lucky there. But also sometimes buildings are slightly off. Pins are not exactly where they should be because of how the computer software and whatnot works. There tends to be glitches like that in places. So it can throw a bit of a wrench into some of these players' games, and unfortunately, that cost BOKSA a single point, which means they are tied at 19,999 going into our final round here, and we start on a big highway. This is probably the Autobahn, and right at
Yes.
the start, another really good sign. There we go, HB, probably Hamburg.
Well, the thing above it saying Bremer Kreuz is probably more helpful.
I was looking at the letters that you taught me about, but I should have
Yep.
read the first line. There we
I
go. So we're
think-
somewhere in between there.
I
So
think.
that exit name will be very helpful.
Let me actually look that up. Because I know there's a couple of cities in Germany that have Hansestadt as their sort of pre-word before the city. I know. I think Hamburg might be one of them. There's a couple, but yeah, Bremen is one of them as well. So that's what the H is for in HB.
Ah, okay. Anyways, there are those exit numbers as well, which Raidman has found, as well as BOKSA, and already just a minute into this, they've got their location pretty much set up, but with no points separating them. Every meter is really going to count here. We know that that exit is to their east, and they have to figure out where exactly they might be. BOKSA seems to be trying to use a rest stop that is very close.
Yeah. Pinpointing on highways is always horrible.
Yeah, I hate it.
In this case, you've got the advantage of you being sort of in the middle of that rest stop there. So you don't have too big of a distance to your reference points. So it's still sort of doable. And you can still be halfway confident about your pin. But there are some other locations. We'll see if we get one of those in Singapore, because that's also quite typical for that country. Where you're just, it's at the end of the day, it's gonna be a bit of luck involved, because otherwise, like, there's no way to be sure you're in the right place.
Exactly. There's no buildings. There's no ramps. There's often just long stretches of straight road. In Asia, in particular, as well as I'm sure in more urban areas, that a lot of highways have sound walls, which means you can't even see outside of the actual location that you're at. If we're trying to pinpoint that. So at least BOKSA putting us a little bit closer to that exit ramp. Actually, Raidman, as I say, that just moves his pin to almost the exact same spot with 10 seconds left, and it's going to come down to a few meters here in game number one. Raidman's going to have a little bit of guess, and 16 meters just off will drop a second point, but BOKSA spot on 5 meters away, getting that perfect round. And he'll take it, Calamity, with a 1-point win.
Yeah.
Over Raidman.
Very well done from him.
Very well done. Picking Germany paid off in the end. So 24,999 for BOKSA, 24,998 for Raidman there. As we'll see his final score for that one. But as you can kind of see a bit on Raidman's screen there, we have a cluster of 3 rounds right there in that western part of Germany for that one.
Yeah, the nice if you want to call it that thing for Raidman is at least that his last mistake didn't really cost him much because of what BOKSA did. He would have needed to get -1 meters on the last round to actually be tied with BOKSA. So in the end, His mistake was not costly, and the round he lost his points, or his important point in, was round 1.
Well, that'll do it for map number 1. We got to change things around here a bit and get ourselves set up for game number 2, and we'll see you all there.
Ooh. Yeah, yeah, I see no signals, no signs. Girl, you be tripping, no lies, nah. You said je ne sais pas. I flew in all the way for this. I'm not here to waste your time. I just can't give you vibes, you changed a bit. Girl, you mad teasing. I don't mind leaving, just let me know. She told me take it easy. Hey, yeah. I just came here to make y'all feel good. You know what the message is. Suddenly you with me now. You know what the message is. I be running wild for you, babe. You know what the message is. I don't have no patience. Ain't no conversation.
Well, welcome to map number 2. BOKSA picking up map number 1 in his home country of Germany. And now, Calamity, we move over to Singapore, Raidman's pick.
Yeah, Raidman's apparent chosen home country. Adopted home country, you could say.
The flags aren't that different.
Yeah, yeah, true. You've got some red, you've got some white in there. It's not far off, you're right. But yeah, we've seen Raidman win it last season, so he was confident to go with it again. As I've hinted at earlier, Singapore is always a bit dangerous as well, with its long highways, where it's not, at least for me, it's not easy to figure out which road I'm on in the first place. I would assume it's a bit easier for those two, especially if they've prepared a bit for it. But it's always a bit of a gamble as well. And Raidman probably just went for it because he's so confident in his pinpointing. And if you are confident in your pinpointing, even on such places like long straight highways, then it is a good pick, because those are always going to be difficult locations. And if you get those right, it's probably a relatively safe pick, actually, because as always in Singapore, it's such a small country, you're not going to take too long to figure out which area you're in. So yeah, if you think you can guarantee yourself a 5k every time, then you're already, well, 2 steps along the way to a perfect score.
Yeah, indeed. We'll have to see. I don't remember. Singapore might have quite a few highways that have buildings visible from them, as it is a quite really packed urban area. So that might come into play a bit here as well. But we won't keep you waiting any longer. Let's jump into this first round here as we take a look at this one.
Yeah, Raidman's already seen Bishan Street 11 and 12.
Which is
Bishan is a suburb of Singapore, and he's already almost
there
done.
we go. Yep. And BOKSA's internet's playing up a bit in this game, but he has seen Bishan 12 as well. And he is just a little bit out of view of that other road name that he's actually sitting on, which once he finds Bishan 12, he might look at. Yeah, he does seem to have quite a few internet issues here. There we go. There's Bishan. Oh, that's 13. There's 12.
Yeah.
And
luckily, if you've got internet issues, Singapore is probably the map you want to have.
Yeah, exactly. You don't often have to move very much at all. I think they've both moved to maybe a total of like 2 meters, 2 or 3 meters, and already Raidman's got an ace with only 1 meter away. So we're really going to keep track of that, because it definitely could come into play here with how many meters away they are. And BOKSA will guess, and he's 1 meter away as well on the other side of the pin, but an ace for him as well. So yeah, very fast round. This game's going to go by pretty quick, I would assume, at least. And identical scores and distances for both of them in round number 1. Calamity.
Yeah, for those of you who've seen the final from last season, Singapore can just be over in 5 minutes. It really depends on how pinpoint heavy the seeds are. If you've got highway locations on there, it might take a bit longer, But if you're just at intersections, basically in 5 out of 5 rounds, it can be over very, very quickly.
So we'll keep it moving with round number 2 here. And we start right next to some restaurants on a pretty busy street, which appears to be actually downtown Singapore. Leong Se Street there for Raidman. And Box has seen it as well.
Yeah, downtown Singapore can be a bit annoying in the sense that none of the streets are named after the districts or anything. But at the same time, it's downtown Singapore, so it's not exactly like you've got a massive search radius.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, if you realize, hey, these aren't like the suburban named roads, then I might as well just jump right to downtown and try to find the name there. And it seems to be working for them.
Yeah, usually the main strategy for downtown Singapore is just go find a major road and then work your way back. And it looks like they've both done that, and both are close. BOKSA is just a few meters away, and Raidman's almost at the right spot.
Yeah, indeed. What's interesting, though, is it appears these points of interest aren't correct, which is giving them a bit of pause. There are plenty of restaurants along the street, but they don't show up on the map. So Raidman and BOKSA are a little bit confused, trying to figure out, wait a minute, this is the right road, maybe, but these aren't the...
The roads fit, but...
Yeah. Yeah, things do change, which is kind of the weird thing about the map versus actual Street View, is the map updates, but Street View doesn't update quite as fast.
Yeah, and I could also assume that a downtown location for a shop in Singapore is quite expensive, as BOKSA 1 meter away. So you could expect those businesses to change quite often as one runs out of money and the next one slots right in.
And 5K and 1 meter again for Raidman. So Calamity, after 2 rounds, Singapore not quite proving to be the home field advantage that Raidman might have wanted, but we've still got 3 rounds to go.
Yeah, not yet, but you've also not had the round yet that would bring you that advantage. I've been looking at the rules for like 2 minutes now, trying to figure out what the next tiebreaker is after distance, but I don't think there is one. No, the rules say in case of a draw, the total combined distance will be used as a tiebreaker. And after that, I guess we're just rolling dice or throwing a coin.
Yeah, they have to play some rock, paper, scissors over Discord or something to decide who gets to win after that. Or maybe they just have to play like hour-long country streaks to see who's the first one to drop one with that. But
yeah, rock, paper, scissors over Discord. I picked rock. I picked paper. Up one.
Yeah, very nice. Well, we'll get into round number 3 here. See if this one's going to be one to separate them. And we start off on that highway. So this is probably the first one that has a chance to cause some problems, but a sign for an exit straight up ahead to the CTE and Upper Thompson doesn't seem to be too problematic, at least at the start. There's Bashan again.
Yeah, the problem with highways in Singapore is exactly because it's such a small country, those highways could point you to literally like half a country away. In this case, they both seem pretty sure about their general location, relatively sort of in the middle between Bishan and Tua Payoh, relatively close to that park there on the map.
Yeah, I don't know. Yep, it does appear to be a park. BOKSA is looking north, while Raidman is looking south, and actually makes an interesting move to get off and try to pick up one of those side streets that he might be able to use. That's a good strategy there. Slightly to the west.
It's a strategy we've seen him use last year as well. Or it was last year.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you can try to just click off in the distance and see if you can jump to a street, and that can really mean a difference if you're able to figure out what's down there. And then just jump back to the starting location. He's using that to pin, but BOKSA is not too far off in his own efforts, using what appears to be a parking lot for, and also a bus stop maybe for that park there. He also jumps off the highway to try to get a closer look at what's going on down there. It must be the car park that's a point of interest on the map. So that's what he's using. So Raidman using the southern locations, BOKSA using the northern locations. But this one does prove to be a bit more difficult, using a lot more of the time here in round 3, Calamity.
Yeah, luckily the houses and everything on the map is pretty accurate in Singapore, unlike Germany. So those are pieces of information that you can usually trust. But at the same time, still, it's quite difficult to judge where exactly you are based on the compass. And, you know, the pin being like just slightly off. You can see there it's like slightly off the road. Doesn't make too big of a difference, but the margins are super close here. And a meter or two might decide over who wins.
Yeah, Raidman getting that 5K, but 4 meters away. Again, actually, of where those pins actually are, sometimes aren't actually even on the road, given the weirdness of Google Maps. But Box is going to use every second here to try to find something, but he's actually going to run out of time before he's able to move his pin. And 5 meters for him, so almost identical locations again, but a meter now separating the two of them for this one, Calamity.
Yeah, and a meter is going to be enough. So BOKSA now has some work cut out for him, trying to make up that meter. Yeah, you can see they're both, like BOKSA is a bit further zoomed out, so you can see it better on his screen. Both were super close to the right location. And at that stage, it comes down to luck pretty much. There's no way you can say that 1 meter difference is based on skill or anything. It's just a bit more luck. But yeah, that's also what you have to take into account when choosing Singapore as your map. Unfortunate for BOKSA if it doesn't work out for him, but that's just how it is.
Yeah, BOKSA can see on that leaderboard there that Raidman is ahead of him. He can't see the distance, but he knows that if everybody is on a perfect game, distance is a tiebreaker automatically in Geoguessr's ranking system. So he knows that his distance is further behind, at least going into that.
I'm not sure that actually is true for the rounds you see here for the intermediary standings.
Just give you 3 people who are at a perfect game. It doesn't really distinguish.
I think so, because I'm currently looking at the results, and Max was 16 meters away after 3 rounds, with BOKSA only being 7 meters away. So he's definitely better than Max at this current point.
Okay.
So I don't know if it might just throw them out there randomly. It might be based on time for whatever reason. It might be based on when you played them.
Yeah, that might be something.
But it's definitely not placed, not because of distance.
Oh, interesting. Well, I learned something new every day for that. Well, we'll get into round number 4. A point yet to be dropped by either player, but 1 meter closer for Raidman means as it stands, he's going to pick up his home map again, and very nice location in some named streets, which should give a pretty good clue as to where they are again. But that's kind of Singapore every round anyways, so.
Yeah, but we've got another location where you actually don't have streets named after the district.
But that one I think is Batak is a district, right?
Yes, that is.
Old Jurong Road and Batak. Also seeing some names that look familiar from last round of BOKSA on that sign. He's got to look up some street names, but he does. They both appear to be looking in the right location again. And it's never too complex with Singapore. There's only so many roads. There we go. Box just a little bit west, but then corrects himself there.
Yeah, which means it'll come down to meters again.
Yep, they've both gone it down to that road. Trace themselves back And there is a point of interest on the road, but it doesn't appear to actually be in the map, which is interesting. We'll see if that does anything to either one of them. Pretty close to the dead end of that road. So Raidman's gonna...
Always fun. Always fun when you see a POI on the map and then you're like, well, these all look like normal houses. Which of them is the POI?
Yeah, some at-home business. It's an animal clinic too, so that's quite interesting that there's supposed to be a veterinarian's office tucked back in here. But BOKSA seems to think that might be what he's going to use to pinpoint. If anything, they can count houses. Looks like Raidman's trying to count houses from the end of the road.
Looks like for Raidman the POI isn't there, which is very interesting.
No, there it is. He just wasn't zoomed in enough.
Oh, okay.
Once he zooms in, it does pop up. 2 meters away and another 5K for Raidman. So 8 total and 0 meters for BOKSA. So a bit of unfortunate luck in a previous round goes his way this time, getting a perfect, double perfect in this one. 0 meters and 5. So actually now BOKSA takes the 1 meter lead, 7-8 against Raidman, Calamity.
Yeah, everything's turned on its head again. But going into the last round with a 1 meter lead is never anything that you can feel safe with.
As we just saw.
And also, he just doesn't know he has it because Raidman played first. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It depend on what kind of round we can get. And just judging from the little preview images, I can see while Sutome is switching the video forward a bit. Well, this is going to be interesting.
Okay, well, yeah, let's not keep you waiting any longer. There we go. And this is the location you hate in Singapore. All those nice road names, all those signs, but now this is a fitting round 5 for Singapore because this is really going to test your Geoguessr skills. Highway.
This is typical
with
Singapore,
road names, and you've got to just try to figure out where on this empty highway you are. There are some exits on either side of them, so that should help them get pretty close to a 5K, but again, with only 1 meter separating them, it's going to come down to a bit of maybe luck or skill in this last round.
Problem you have here as well is, other than in the previous round on a highway, you have got absolutely nothing to pinpoint on either side of the highway for you. It's just trees as far as the eye can see. And additionally, one of my major dislikes of Singapore highways is that you cannot trust the road that turns off to the exit at all. You just can't tell when that would start on the map compared to when it starts in Street View.
On-ramps and off-ramps are not pinpoint material. They are very deceiving. As often you can see, too, like in this one, I think there is a median in this one. So Google having 2 separate roads actually makes sense. But often Google makes 2 separate roads out of 1 road, and you're somehow located on the wrong side of those double roads, and it's like, what is happening? So, these little oddities a lot of times don't come into play, but when you're at this level and it's coming down to single meter separating them, they do become annoying, and you do have to think about that coming to this one. So we'll see what they do here with that.
Generally, you mentioned it earlier about locations being misplaced slightly. If you play world maps, that usually won't come into play for you. I'd say about 99.9% of worldwide coverage is accurate enough, probably even more accurate enough for you to get a perfect score if you're in the right place. But in country maps, when you've got 14 meters of margin for the smaller countries, it depends heavily on the country. For some of them, 70% of the locations might be placed well enough. For most of them, it's probably in like the 99% range again, but for some of the worst ones, it can be really annoying.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. For a second there, it looked like Raidman was going to try to use some trees to help him, but unfortunately they're not on the map. But their pins, again, Calamity, to show you how good of players they are. They are right there against each other. But oh, that is quite a swing. Raidman getting a little bit lucky there with a little adjustment, 4 meters away, but BOKSA is 9. And after only losing a few meters every round, that'll cost him the game. And Raidman will survive by the skin of his teeth here, Calamity. Let's see if I can do the math real quick. He was 7 meters BOKSA plus 9, so he was 16 meters total away. 12 meters total for Raidman, so he nips him out by 4 meters there. And whew,
that
close.
would be nice because your math is done correctly, but Geoguessr uses decimals as well. It just doesn't show you. So Raidman's actually 11 meters away and wins by 5 meters. So even if you do math correctly, something still messes you up.
Yeah. There are some very fine grained numbers going on there in that Geoguessr engine that we don't always get to see. So I think the same thing happens with the clock, I believe, too. There's some like small seconds that it rounds up or down at times.
Yeah.
And the meters also get adjusted the same way for that one. Well, it definitely was a lot closer than it was last season for Raidman in the win in Singapore, but it does prove to be a win for him nonetheless, which means, like the last 2 seasons, we are headed to our decider map, our game 3 on a world map. So the meters probably won't come into play on this one as much, but who knows, Calamity?
I think actually it might come into play more because you've got a bigger leeway.
To get the 5K, true.
With assuming both of them would get a perfect score, you might have distances ranging from like one of them might be 10 meters away from the total and one of them might be 500 meters away but still have a perfect score. But, well, you got to get the perfect score first, and world maps, especially the AI generated world map, aren't always very nice to you.
Yeah, we'll switch things up and we'll see you in game number 3. Okay, well, we're on our final map with BOKSA and Raidman picking up their own map picks respectively. That sends us to our decider map, an AI-generated world. They played this map in the semifinals, so we do have something to compare them in that regard. They weren't against each other, but they both did play the same seed. And Raidman won in... What did you say again? Like 70 points?
71
There we
points,
go.
Yes.
So do you think we're going to see the same thing here? A slight win by Raidman? Or going to be a different seed at least? So
it's very hard to tell. Yeah, as you said, with a different seed, it might have nothing to do with what we had in the semifinal in terms of what skills you'll need. There's a sort of basic set of skills you have in Geoguessr that helps you everywhere. But players, even at the top level, can differ vastly in how good they are in certain countries. And at the level we're at, if you get one unlucky round where you're maybe in a country that you don't feel all that comfortable in, and you maybe get a location that's even worse, and with only 3 minutes, it can be really tough to then still get a great score out of it. I'm assuming either of those players, no matter what location they get, as long as it's official coverage, will get above 4,000 points in any round. But we've seen both of them so far have dropped together a total of 3 points in the past 2 games. So even a small mistake can be very costly at this stage.
Yeah, and it's really been interesting watching these two side by side in the final. They're definitely bringing their A game. It has been crazy in our first 2 maps how many times we actually got to see them almost moving and clicking the same way, adjusting their pin and putting it in the exact same spot, just a few seconds off of each other or something like that. So they're playing almost the exact same game, and from very different time zones and different times of the week as well, for this final. So I can't wait to see how things shake out in our game number 3. So let's not keep you waiting, and let's get into this and see who's going to be crowned the champion for season 3 on an AI generated world in round number 1 for this one.
Yeah, and from the start, you can see it's either the US or Canada. You can tell that for sure. And with a 15 speed limit, you can probably assume that's miles. Yep. And Raidman actually just straight up went past the Louisiana side.
He'll stop there.
But thankfully for him, there's a bunch more here. So
yeah, another thing to tell US and Canada apart, the US has a speed limit sign, and I think Canada also has maximum on them as well. True. So if you see a speed limit, you're in the US. But yeah, Louisiana, 1, as well as a few other small 3-digit numbers. So they'll be looking for that. He found it, but it's a very long road. It's going to go through the whole of the state.
Yeah.
They're going to try to narrow themselves down to where they might be. It looks like is a bridge not too far off in that direction. That might be helpful. But again, the whole kind of southern part of Louisiana is a big river delta. So plenty of rivers down there. This intersection is going to be really good. BOKSA trying to get to as many different corners as he possibly can to see all the different different roads that bypass here.
Yeah, this is a fantastic sign for Raidman. This is pretty much what you want as soon as you know the state you're in and have a good grasp on the road you're on, and even have found that. You want signs for the distance to certain cities, because that's then the most sure way that you can know, or that you can quickly figure out where you are, because it can be quite tedious, even if you do have other state highway signs, to find those, because you have to be zoomed in quite far to see them. But with the way Raidman is zoomed in, he'd probably see them anyway. It wouldn't have to be zoomed in so far for those cities.
You always have the awkward thing as well, as if a smaller road intersects a major road multiple times. So you're like, oh, I found this, I found the intersection of the 1 and the 258, and you're like, wait a minute, there's 3 of those intersections. Which one am I at? So those city names and distances definitely help out, and he did find them there. Yeah. So just under 40 seconds here.
Started at the complete wrong end of the state on the one highway to search.
But luckily, even though he did, 3 minutes is still enough time to get all the way down to the southern part and figuring out where he is. BOKSA with 30 seconds left is still quite a ways off. He's in the right general area, but he's not as confident. I don't think he's seen those city names.
Yeah, I don't think he has.
He's looking for some highways, and he actually moved his pin further away from the location. So only a couple seconds left. Oh, there it is. No, he did seem to, maybe he recognized that name. Drop a pin there. Whew. No time to pinpoint, but oh my word, does he get lucky. Just within that 5K range for him, spotting it the last second. But it does cost him quite a few meters, Calamity. Raidman also picking up, of course, an ace in that one as well.
Yeah, but I think it's fair to say the bad luck he had in Singapore with losing out by just a couple of meters is reversed now. Can't complain about that anymore.
No,
after
not
that
at
round.
all. Yeah, that's any good luck or anything he could be hoping for just got paid up right there. So he's got to do a whole lot better in the rounds to come if he wants to stay in this final and not get blown out in a first round or two. For this one, as we'll get ourselves set up for round number 2 here. And a much more rural location this time. No signs, and definitely not the US. Looks more European this time.
Yeah, for sure. And on a country map, I'd now say, oh, that's going to be tough to pinpoint. But on a world map, you've got enough slight curves in a road for that, and you've also got some very helpful signs there for Stalingrad and something else, which should tell you that you're in Bulgaria.
Yeah, those signs, and using Cyrillic as well as Latin alphabet will be helpful. BOKSA already checking out Bulgaria, and Raidman not too far behind. Now,
There's also, you could already see it there on Raidman's screen, one of the signs he looked at also said Haskovo, which is another pretty big city you can see there in Bulgaria. And that puts him pretty close to the right location. And Box is not too far behind with it.
And we are right on that Turkish border. Quite a few towns to help you pinpoint, triangulate your location. The one tricky thing is I don't know if they know the road number they're actually on. They've
I'm not sure there is a road number for this road.
Well, it's Bulgaria. You never know. It could be a 3-digit or a 4-digit road, if there's even such a thing. But this is really one of the things that I struggle with when you're like, well, I know. Oh, there's the road number 559. There we go.
Well, there you go.
It does have a number. And Box has at least seen it. But just knowing kind of what cities are in which direction and how the intersection faces will help them also pinpoint their location.
Yeah, Raidman won't need the number.
Yeah, he knows he's just north of Therm? Therem? Therem? I don't know how to speak Therem.
I would call it that. I don't know if I'm accurate. I don't speak Bulgarian, but...
Actually, it's a 761, so that sign must have been pointing at a different road than I thought it was.
Side road, yeah.
But they figured it out. And again, almost in identical spots for this one. This time, BOKSA not being off and making a last-second adjustment. He'll actually guess a little bit early, and maybe will kind of be a little bit mad at himself with that. Oops. Getting 4,999, 177 meters, so he's dropped a point now, Calamity.
Yeah, that was, as Raidman pretty much puts it, in the right place there. I was kind of confused when I saw that result and when we talked about it in the show. And I hoped that this would clear it up a bit, but it didn't really. You could see there he went back to the start, so it's not like he was overconfident. Oh, I know where we started at. And he looked at the road that made the curve that you can see there north of of the pin, and then he went to the wrong side of it. I don't really know. Maybe he he mistook the compass direction.
Yeah, and
is the only thing I can come up with.
And also guessing very early. He had some more time. He knows this is a final. Like, spend that time, double check, make sure everything is correct. But I mean, it is only 1 point, but consider how many points they've dropped total so far in 2 maps. It's 1 point, Calamity. That's a lot.
It's 1 of 4.
Yeah, exactly.
It's 25% of the total dropped points so far.
So we'll see if that comes back to haunt him, as we'll get ourselves situated here for round number 3. See if they can do any better in this one. And even, well, we have gone more rural with each round here, Calamity.
Yep. These locations are always awful.
Yeah.
For me, personally, at least, because you're out in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle of nowhere. So even if you do manage to find the general location you're at, you're still going to have a bit of trouble trying to figure out where exactly you are in this mess of fields.
Yeah, and there's like the little creek running along the side of the road too. Those don't always show up on your map. So sometimes you're like, well, there's got to be a stream here somewhere. Nope, there isn't. So I get thrown off by that. Oh, here's a stream, but no, it's just the road we were on doesn't have it on the map. So I don't count on that. So we could be in a bit of a clicking contest, and we know that Raidman's internet has been pretty good all day, so got a bit of an advantage.
Yeah, for a change.
Oh, finally a village name. There we go. There's something.
Yeah,
and the train station. That's really good. So probably, well, Italy. But actually, BOKSA, not too far behind, is going to see that same sign. So advantage.
Yeah, these
level.
Yeah, these roads are very typical for Italy. I don't think you'd find them in many other places, these extensive roads through fields. You could maybe see them in like Netherlands, Belgium, and maybe in France, but most typically Italy. And there's actually a really good sign for Raidman.
Yeah.
I personally, when I played the Seed, I didn't actually find any signs towards any towns at all. I just found the sign they found previously with San Germano Vercellese. But the fact that it was called Vercellese or Vercellese, I'm not entirely sure, made me think it might be close to Vercelli, which I did know, and it was. So even for BOKSA, who's not found the sign Raidman has, might be good enough with what he's found so far to find the right
Yeah,
place.
Raidman working backwards from the train station, following the roads and the intersections, also trying to line up how exactly this intersection is facing. And it looks like he'll get another 5K, unless he's just a tad bit off. 30 seconds left for BOKSA to find it, and he's gone to map scanning strategy here, and so far not really paying off. But he's got 20 seconds. We saw in round number 1, it only takes 1 second to find it and click. So let's see if it'll come into play here. And oh, there we go, with 10 seconds left this time. And he will jump back to the start and try to pinpoint. Now he's got to do the same thing Raidman did, work his way back from that train station. And he'll drop it down again with only a few seconds left, and a 5K from him as well. So BOKSA definitely showing some signs of weakness, but so far only a single point dropped, separating the two.
Yeah, he really has used up all of his luck so far, and the worrying thing for him is that even with that, he's still a point behind Raidman. And that's not a good sign going into the last 2 rounds, although it is only 1 point. And you can just get an unfortunate round where that 1 point may be quickly lost.
Yeah, it is only 1 point. We did see meters and Singapore switch around just as fast for them. Points can definitely be dropped with only a few meters separating, and we could see something come down to very, very close. We might even see meters here again on a world map, but in this time we start what appears to be somewhere in South Central America with a beautiful ocean to our west here.
Very poor camera quality.
Yeah.
It isn't the worst, but it just looks awful.
It's kind of, especially when you look at one direction, it seems like maybe it's just BOKSA's internet as well, but not the best. Spanish, which shouldn't surprise either one of them. Raidman's already jumped onto a highway, yeah. And again, BOKSA right behind him. Both of them making very good movements, hunting down that information, not wasting the slightest bit of time. And that's a really good sign for BOKSA. We are in Mexico on the Mexican 1. And he should know that is in Baja. Fair enough. Raidman has seen a sign similar to that and will put us up near the U.S. border. As BOKSA also, we know we have to be really close to that coastline. And he's looking with the most humorous little clicks here. I bet his eyesight, I bet he's watching right at the top of his screen as the names pop up. And sure enough, he's found the town. There we go. BOKSA's Raidman actually just throwing a pin down so far, but there's some signs. Tijuana, as well as it always goes so fast. I can never read it fast enough. Puerto Nuevo. There we go. Newport. And yeah, again, a minute left. Both of them in the same town. It's going to come down to a few points and pinpointing here. Now they do.
But there are actually road signs there. I never saw those while I was playing.
Quite a few. That'll help. BOKSA is reading those, checking those out. Raidman, though, just like you, Calamity, maybe zipped right past them again.
Yeah, he's pretty much doing what I was doing when I played it, which was hope that the road direction gives it away. Because there was that pretty significant curve that you just went through, where it might be possible to do it just with that. See there? He's got that curve, and he's looking probably somewhere in that mess of roads.
Yeah.
They're all parallel to each other.
Yeah, and BOKSA did find some road names, but it doesn't appear that those names actually are really well labeled on the map. Unless the names are slightly different how they're ordered. I wasn't table, but it is enough for Rayman to get an ace as well as BOKSA. Probably the furthest away that, well, except for round 1, that either of them have been, but still 5K. So yeah, that 1 point proving to really be the difference, Calamity, into the final round here.
Yeah, I mean, BOKSA also lost a point in round 2, so I'm not sure about that, the furthest away either of them have been, but yeah, both of them, well, Raidman doesn't know yet, but BOKSA knows distance doesn't matter anymore, unless Raidman drops exactly 1 point. So the 40 meters, not really a big deal. And he also knows probably he's too... Actually, though, I'm thinking now, he must have been really close to a perfect score in round 2, because he was 177 meters away.
Yeah.
And I could have sworn that's right around where the cutoff is. So maybe you would assume if Raidman drops exactly 1 point, he'd probably be further away distance-wise. So maybe it does make a bit of a difference. But yeah, this is very hypothetical, and Raidman can just end all those theories by just getting a perfect score in the last round.
Well, let's see what the last round has in store for us, and oh boy. Oh. I don't know if I like this one. Well, luckily I'm not playing because it's France. Oh, I actually know where this is. Okay. I've been playing some of the Tour de France series on Reddit, and yeah, that village name was one of our stages. So general area should be not too hard to find, and if I can remember it, I'm pretty sure that some of these players will be able to. But
I mean, that's like saying I just looked at a map today and I saw this city, so everyone else should remember it too.
I guess that...
Like, they didn't play the Tour de France. Like,
I guess that's true, but I mean, there we go. Raidman's got the D7, some more recognizable city names, probably, than a small little village. He does appear to be checking out the sort of the right area. I'm not really sure who all is playing the other series that's going on right now. BOKSA is seeing the same sign, but just a few. Oh, he's actually turned around and saw a really nice sign. There we go, intersection. That'll help him. Now it's map scrolling time with 1.5 minutes left.
Yeah, the thing is in France, especially when you hit an intersection like that, and you know all the other small villages are like a few kilometers away, you're probably not going to find a better sign.
Yeah.
So while this is not something that you usually want to look for, because it's not, as Raidman finds it, it's not super likely that you'll find it if you're just randomly scrolling through the country. If you've got a bit of an idea of where it probably is, you've got a bit of a better chance.
Yeah, at least...
But yeah, moving is probably not going to help.
At least where he started to scan, Raidman's knowledge of France is much better than BOKSA's. BOKSA started on the wrong side of the country. But has worked his way into the right area, if he can spot those town names eventually. And there we go, Raidman has, so at most he's going to drop a point or two here. So BOKSA's got about 40 seconds to try to get a perfect score and hope that there's just a slight error in the math for Raidman. But oh my word, Calamity, I would not be surprised if France was the thing that killed BOKSA.
Well, he's already dead, so...
Yeah, I think Raidman's pretty much got an ace here. And he is just with 20 seconds left, pretty much going, yep, where is this thing? No idea. Oh, actually, there we go. Another last second gasp to try to find it. There's the village. Go back to the start, guess the house. But it's not going to be enough, as I even forget to stop Raidman's screen. An ace for him as well, but oh my word, Calamity, that has to go down in the record books as the closest final forever, and it's probably going to stand that and keep that record for a long time, given that only, 4 points were dropped total across all 3 maps. And it means Raidman comes away with the victory on the second asking. He gets the crown. A really heartbreaking way to lose a final for BOKSA, though, on the other hand, Calamity.
Yeah, though at the same time, it also probably settles itself in my head as the luckiest game I've ever seen from BOKSA
Yes,
here.
yes.
Where he pretty much had no idea almost where he was, and then found the right spot with less than 20 seconds 3 times. So I don't think he can complain about this one. You could see there Raidman definitely always a step ahead of him. So he definitely lost his chance at the final in Singapore. Although, in that case, he didn't really do anything wrong there. That was just Raidman getting slightly more lucky. But yeah, I don't think he can complain about this one.
Yeah, definitely. Barely able to find those rounds in time at several occasions. But yeah, really interesting choice of countries here in this final map. We had Bulgaria, Italy, the US, France. So yeah, definitely not the easiest places.
Who cares about Mexico?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and Mexico. But I mean, there was plenty of good signs in the US and Mexico. So, but like a lot of people, if you ask them like, what is one of your least favorite countries to play in Geoguessr, France, Italy, and the US might be right up there. US with a lot of bad coverage and cameras. France and Italy with their small little villages and side roads. So I think it's an amazing seed to finish on, and to see these players get almost a perfect game on it and say, hey, this is how good they are, right? They can go into some of the worst countries that people don't like to play, still walk away with aces and perfect games, and definitely deserving of the crown here for Raidman in this one.
Yeah, it definitely made sure that the better player would win, and that we don't just get a seed where both of them know the locations, because it's, I don't know, 5 super easy locations somewhere in the middle of a giant city. So they both had to really work for it, and so great showing from BOKSA as well, but in the end, Raidman just slightly better on the day.
Yeah, well, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this 3-map series and how close it was. Only 1 point in the end actually making the difference, costing BOKSA Game 3 and handing the championship over to Raidman. Congrats to Raidman on that win. Definitely, this isn't the end of Reddit League quite yet. We're definitely going to try to bring you an interview with Raidman to see his thoughts on how things went and on his victory. And as last season, we've got an award show planned for you as well. So if you don't want to miss those, please hit that subscribe and like button, and we'll see you there. Take care.
Bye.
Oh, 16 meters just off. Will drop a second point, but BOKSA spot on 5 meters away, getting that perfect round. And he'll take it, Calamity, with a 1-point win. 4 meters away, but BOKSA is 9. And after only losing a few meters every round, that'll cost him the game, and Raidman will survive by the skin of his teeth here. No time to pinpoint, but oh my word, does he get lucky. Off and making a last-second adjustment. He'll actually guess a little bit early, and maybe will kind of be a little mad at himself with that. He is just with 20 seconds left, pretty much going, yep. Where is this thing? No idea. Oh, actually, there we go. Another last-second gasp to try to find it. There's the village. Go back to the start, guess the house. But it's not going to be enough.